Let us begin, gently, with a quiet thought. The pillow, something so familiar, so ordinary in our daily lives, yet carrying with it a surprisingly lengthy and intricate history. When we consider the past, on the broad scale of human civilization, our minds often drift toward grand events, remarkable inventions, or great achievements. But it is in the small, often overlooked objects. The pillow, for instance, where we find traces of everyday life, customs, and subtle shifts in comfort and care through the centuries. Pillows, cushions, or whatever form their predecessors took, have been companions to rest for thousands of years, quietly supporting heads, dreams, and perhaps even hopes. In the coming moments, we will slowly explore how such an unassuming item traveled through time and place, bringing with it modest insights into human behavior and domestic existence. The story will unfold calmly like a soft breeze at dusk, meandering through the landscapes of history without rush or exaggeration. In ancient Mesopotamia, around 7000 BCE, some of the earliest known pillows existed, though not quite what we picture today. These were typically carved from stone or shaped from clay, somewhat rigid and primarily serving functional rather than comfort purposes. The design was often intended to keep the sleeper's head elevated and perhaps away from insects or the cool ground. Imagine, if you will, a sun-soaked clay building where a family retires after a day of tending fields or crafting goods. The headrests, cool and solid, sat patiently awaiting nightly use. While they seem primitive, the presence of such objects hints at attention to health, posture, and cleanliness. There was also a subtle status component, as such items could vary in decoration or size, depending on the owner's social rank. These early pillows were more than mere tools. They were part of the quiet rhythm of daily life, offering modest privacy and physical care at the close of each day. Traveling eastward and forward through time, we find that ancient Egypt also boasted early versions of pillows, though again quite unlike modern ones. Ancient Egyptians used wooden pillows, sometimes hollowed with curved indentations designed to support the neck. These were often elaborately decorated with engravings or inlays, showing a quiet care for aesthetic pleasure even in such simple items. Archaeologists have found these wooden supports placed artistically in tombs, hinting at their value beyond mere practicality. Their function was not only to provide comfort, but also to maintain cleanliness by keeping the head elevated while sleeping. In everyday Egyptian homes, these might have been considered modestly luxurious, tied to daily pursuits of cleanliness, which were well regarded in their culture. In funerary art, the pillow appears as an emblem of peaceful rest, underscoring how daily items could take on symbolic dimensions. Picturing an ancient Egyptian household, one might see a wooden pillow near reed mats, warm sunlight scattering through a shaded veranda, bringing a sense of quiet care to the eve of day. Meanwhile, in ancient China, pillows took on a different form and significance altogether. With a tradition spanning several millennia, Chinese pillows were often fashioned from ceramic or porcelain, and sometimes carved stone, rather than soft materials. This practice relates to cultural beliefs about health and the flow of energy or qi. By providing firm support, such pillows were thought to promote proper rest and even protect the sleeper from bad spirits. In imperial courts, porcelain pillows could be intricately painted with detailed landscapes, birds, or flowers, combining utility with artistic expression. Outside the court, common folk might use wooden or woven reed pillows, similarly firm but less elaborate. The tradition of firm, non-textile pillows persisted in China through different dynasties, and even today, some people still value these types of headrests for their supposed health benefits. Imagine a quiet study room filled with scrolls and wooden furniture, the porcelain pillow resting near a silk-covered sleeping mat, imparting both cultural heritage and a very particular type of comfort. Meanwhile, back in Europe, the pillow's history was somewhat different, evolving gradually through the ages and influenced by changes in materials and domestic habits. In the early medieval period, pillows were considered a marker of social status. Nobles and wealthier families might have pillows stuffed with feathers or down, materials that required some kind of care and cost. These pillows were often covered with embroidered linen or silk, quietly displaying subtle wealth and domestic refinement. In contrast, common folk might use simple cloth sacks filled with straw or wool, placed atop wooden benches or beds made from rough-hewn timber. The contrast was less dramatic than it might sound, as the practice of using a pillow was fairly consistent, but the quality of materials and decoration differed noticeably. Everyday life in a medieval European household involved such small details as taking care of one's bedding, which included the pillow as a cozy, though humble, part of nightly rest. We can picture a candlelit chamber with modest furnishings and a feather-stuffed pillow resting against a wooden headboard, patiently awaiting its owner's return after an evening meal. It is important to note that the very concept of rest, comfort, and sleep has shifted throughout history alongside the pillow's evolution. For much of human history, sleeping arrangements were communal and multifunctional. Beds could serve as places for sitting, socializing, or relaxing during the day. Pillows thus filled a variety of roles. In many cultures, pillows acted not only as supports for the head, but also as backrests. Their shapes and sizes varied according to such functions. Textiles covering pillows might be homemade or traded, embroidered with patterns that expressed family ties or local traditions, although these were relatively modest compared to decorative art's grander displays. The slow, steady progress from hard stone or ceramic to soft textiles underscores how comfort, a blend of necessity and luxury, quietly crept into personal habits and domestic economies. Even as industrialization and mass production transformed households in later centuries, the basic utility of the pillow remained strikingly simple. Coming closer to modern times, the Industrial Revolution introduced changes that reached even this humble object. Pillows became more affordable through mass-produced fabrics and readily available filling materials like cotton, wool, feathers, and eventually synthetic fibers. This democratization meant pillows were no longer the privilege of the wealthy, but became commonplace in many households. In urban settings, the proliferation of pillows aligned with evolving ideas about personal hygiene, indoor life, and sleep quality, as changes in heating, ventilation, and bedding all intertwined. At the same time, decorative pillows began to emerge, not just for sleep support, but for display on chairs, couches, or beds, contributing to interior aesthetics. Small details like pillowcases embroidered with initials or floral motifs became popular, blending personal care with style. The effect was gradual and unhurried, blending the pillow further into the broader fabric of everyday existence without shouting for attention. Even in contemporary times, the story of pillows continues in subtle ways, shaped by cultural habits, technological advances, and notions of comfort. Memory foam, adjustable fills, ergonomic designs, all reflect ongoing attention to the quality and specifics of rest. Yet the humble pillow remains fundamentally much the same, quietly present, and intimately tied to personal moments of respite, both at night and during quieter times of day. Its history reminds us not only of human ingenuity in crafting comfort, but also of the shared, often silent rhythms that connect us with countless generations before. As we lay our heads down to rest tonight, the pillow under us is a small link in a very long chain, shaped by labor, care, and the slow persistence of everyday life. So there we have it, a simple object, often taken for granted, that invites us to pause and consider the quiet history woven into daily life. Pillows, in their many forms, attune us to evolving traditions of care, modest comfort, and shared humanity. They connect distant times and places, from carved stones in Mesopotamian homes to porcelain beauties in imperial China, to feathered softness across European abbeys and modern homes. Each pillow carries stories not of upheaval or fame, but of routine and rest, moments where people pause to recover, dream, and prepare for another day. Perhaps next time you find your head resting gently upon a pillow, you might feel its presence not just as an object, but as a quiet companion to centuries of human restfulness. The night deepens, the air grows still. May your dreams be calm, held softly by the pillow's steady embrace.